6 of them rowing, and one standing up in the stern, keeping time to their song with an orchestra leader's baton. Oysters and rocks, sawdust and socks, who could make clocks out of jellos. The leader's eye suddenly rested on Ardita, who was leaning over the rail, spellbound with curiosity. He made a quick movement with his baton, and the singing instantly ceased. She saw that he was the only white man in the boat. The 6 rowers were Negroes. "Narcissus, ahoy!" he called politely. "What's the idea of all the discord?" demanded Ardita cheerfully. "Is this the varsity crew from the county nut farm?" By this time, the boat was scraping the side of the yacht, and a great bulking Negro in the bow turned round and grasped the ladder. Thereupon, the leader left his position in the stern, and before Ardita had realized his intention, he ran up the ladder and stood breathless before her on the deck. "The women and children will be spared," he said briskly. "All crying babies will be immediately drowned, and all males put in double irons." Digging her hands excitedly down into the pockets of her dress, Ardita stared at him, speechless with astonishment. He was a young man with a scornful mouth and the bright blue eyes of a healthy baby set in a dark, sensitive face. His hair was pitch black, damp and curly, the hair of a Grecian statue gone brunette. He was trimly built, trimly dressed, and graceful as an agile quarterback. "Well, I'll be son of a gun," she said dazedly. They eyed each other coolly. "Do you surrender this ship?" "Is this an outburst of wit?" demanded Ardita. "Are you an idiot, or just being initiated into some fraternity? I asked if you surrendered the ship." "I thought the country was dry," said Ardita disdainfully. "Have you been drinking fingernail enamel? You better get off this yacht." "What?" The young man's voice expressed incredulity. "Get off the yacht, you heard me." He looked at her for a moment as if considering what she had said. "No," said his scornful mouth slowly. "No, I won't get off the yacht. You can get off if you wish." Going to the rail, he gave a curt command, and immediately the crew of the rowboat scrambled up the ladder and ranged themselves in line before him. A coal-black and burly dark at one end, and a miniature mulatto of 4'9" at the other. They seemed to be uniformly dressed in some sort of blue costume ornamented with dust, mud, and tatters. Over the shoulder of each was slung a small, heavy-looking white sack, and under their arms they carried large black cases, apparently containing musical instruments. "Attention," commanded the young man, snapping his own heels together crisply. "Right, Jess, front, step out here, babe." The smallest Negro took a step forward and saluted. "Take command, go down below, catch the crew and tie him up, all except the engineer. Bring him up to me. Oh, and pile those bags by the rail there." "Yes, sir." Babe saluted again, and wheeling about, motioned for the 5 others to gather about him. Then, after a short whispered consultation, they all filed noiselessly down the companionway. "Now," said the young man cheerfully to Ardita, who had witnessed this last scene in withering silence, "if you will swear on your honor as a flapper, which probably isn't worth much, that you'll keep that spoiled little mouth of yours tight shut for 48 hours, you can row yourself ashore in our rowboat." "Otherwise what?" "Otherwise you're going to sea in a ship." With a little sigh as for a crisis well past, the young man sank into the settee Ardita had lately vacated and stretched his arms lazily. The corners of his mouth relaxed appreciatively as he looked round at the rich striped awning, the polished brass, and the luxurious fittings of the deck. His eye felt on the book and then on the exhausted lemon. He said. "Stonewall Jackson claimed that lemon juice cleared his head. Your head feel pretty clear?" Ardita disdained to answer. "Because inside of 5 minutes you'll have to make a clear decision whether it's go or stay." He picked up the book and opened it curiously. all 7 of us, as Curtis Carlyle and his 6 black buddies, late of the Winter Garden and the Midnight Frolic. Your singers. We were until today. At present, due to those white bags you see there, we're fugitives from justice, and if the reward offered for our capture hasn't by this time reached $20,000, I miss my guess. What's in the bags? Asked Ardita cautiously. Well, he said,